Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Hollywood, California. With me in a not so great of moods, the one and only everybody's soccer, Bill Reno. USA, USA, USA.
What's like the stages of grief? I feel like I've just been stuck at anger for like a prolonged time. Like I'm like waiting for other stages to like kick in, but it's just been anger. I've just been angry this whole time.
Yeah, pretty sure anger may be the case for a while there. So for those of you guys who are unfamiliar with what we're discussing right now, we are discussing the fact that the U.S. men's national team bowed out, I guess is a polite way to say it, from the Men's World Cup last night.
We stepped out of the way. We were like, all right, you guys go ahead, Belgium. You got it.
Yeah, you guys got this. You guys love soccer. You guys keep going. You're enjoying yourselves. So keep that going. No, I mean, look, let's be honest with you. I mean, sure, by all means, you guys all know what happened last night, 4-1 drubbing by Belgium. This show is about discussing it from a goalkeeping standpoint. We're going to be breaking down some of the goalkeeper performances from this match, maybe some other matches as well too, and looking at the depth chart, looking into 2030 and what possibly U.S. soccer could be doing moving forward, so that we're not in this position. So, Bill, first off, your first thoughts.
It's only furthered my anger for the game last night. It's only compounding at this point. So yeah, it's all very fitting.
So let's talk a little bit about it. If you guys don't know what we're referring to, if you're watching this in the future, or you're going back and going through the archives of Inside the 18 in the year 2030, and you're like, man, what was the low point for the U.S. men's national team in 2026? You're here. You're here at it. So first, let's talk about a couple things. One is that you brought this up on your Twitter feed a couple days ago. Actually, it was yesterday. Sorry. My days are scrambled because I still can't believe this really happened. You brought up it's not Matt Freese's fault. Matt Freese never should have been in that position.
It's nothing against him. I'm sure he's a nice enough guy, but he's not at the level of what we would expect a goalkeeper for the men's national team to be at. And the way I would compare this is you just go back in time. You can look at Tim Howard, Casey Keller, Brad Friedel. I would even argue 1990 World Cup with a 21-year-old Tony Meola. I would say even that young Tony Meola outplayed Matt Freese in a sense of like what he can just do on a week-to-week basis, but also how that World Cup went. Like Tony Meola got drubbed in the 1990 World Cup, and they said, we want him again for 94. Like, that's how he played. So, so you start going back into the 80s where you've got Mauser, DeBow. I would say both those guys are like, you have to go pretty far back to be like, hey, when's the last time we like bottomed out this bad with our goalkeeping? I think you have to go pretty far back. So, yeah, it's not like Matt Freese forced anyone to make him play on the field. It's, this is a federation problem from the top down that they've really mismanaged this position for such a long point, and now it just kind of showed up. But this is something that's been coming from a long ways away.
So let me ask you a question right here, because you were just bringing up some of those names and everything like that. And I think first off, to be fair to Matt Freese, first off, he is one of the top choices in the U.S. men's national team depth pool right now. So. Sure. You're not saying like, man, they just made the wrong decision, they played the wrong guy or whatever.
Oh yeah,
they chose who they felt was the best option of what's currently in our depth chart right now, that is on the roster right now, that has the experience and has played at this ability. I've never played in front of 80,000 people at Lumen Field in a politically charged environment, which is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
Right there, I've never been in that situation. What I have done is played in knockout situations before. And I generally play conservative in those types of environments. Look, I'm a huge advocate of children exploring in their journey as goalkeepers. If that's a club game at U11 and it's the state cup group play or whatever, and you're learning and how to deal with those types of pressure scenarios, awesome. I just personally, for me, like I'd rather he lived and died by a decision rather than waffling in between decisions. I mean, that's just me. That's me
Yeah.
personally.
Well, I look, it's always tough to compare. I mean, it's tough for me to compare my experiences to, a 12-year-old now. Like it's just everyone's different, right? And so when we start talking about like the emotions behind decisions, like, I think that's really tough, especially outside looking in, unless you've talked to the goalkeeper. So like there's a lot of barriers here that prevent us from understanding completely. However, yeah, that the more serious the game, typically the less you want to kind of like explore. But I don't think that was really the problem. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but like, I don't think that's what Matt Free struggled with. I don't think he knew what to do. Like at both on the really the all the first three goals for sure, he's out to sea. Doesn't know what to do. That has not been prepared for it, which is a real shame because that save in the first minute was actually like the best thing he's ever done in his life. Very, very good save. Was cool to see. Moved his feet. Nice top hand save for our top hand advocates out there. Love to see that. But like the first goal, second goal, third goal, like he just doesn't quite know what to do. And so you're seeing hesitation come out. You're seeing indecision come out. And I think you're right. Like, yeah, depth pool wise, like he's up there, but it's not like Matt Turner hasn't had an issue recently. It's not like Stefan hasn't had issues recently. It's not like Chris Brady hasn't. Like they've all had their problems, and basically, I would say they all kind of boil down to like moments that you can't really train really well. It's hard to train these moments where it's a ball outside the box or kind of a slotted ball sort of shot situation where there's people crashing. Like that's really hard to train. Um, some of the components, yes, but like that moment in those situations, like there's a lot to evaluate. So it's these moments where these goalkeepers can't, or they're put in situations where they can't really train them really well, or at least that often. And they're sorting through their like mental Rolodex of like, what am I supposed to do here? And that's not like, it's such a slow way to process. You have to have a blueprint. You have to have an identity that you can lean on of like, hey, this is an improv moment. This is something I haven't trained a whole lot. I'm going to go lean on what I'm good at, as opposed to trying to figure out what's the best decision and sort through and think the moment's over. It's already blown by.
It's great that you brought that up right there, because I was actually just thinking about that. Is that how often do us as goalkeeper coaches in our environment train that situation, coming out and having to chest a ball down to as a prep touch to prepare for the next touch? Like I'll be completely honest with you. I don't think I've ever actually trained that. Have you?
Well, I'll say this. You cannot train certain things without the right like space, without the right numbers. If you're doing one-on-one training, you cannot train slotted ball. That's just a fact. You cannot train crossing at like a real intensity that you need to get out to. You can get some of the technical stuff, but like you can't really get into the actual challenges of it all. However, as a goalkeeper coach, even if it is one-on-one, you can create environments that are atypical, that are maybe a little silly at times, that they have to solve. And hopefully that muscle that they strengthen of that, hey, I'm a really creative goalkeeper. Hey, I'm a goalkeeper that loves to come forward and kind of bet on being aggressive. I'm a goalkeeper that gets, set and pat. Like there's going to be a thing that goalkeeper can hopefully strengthen. Like, hey, this is my thing, so that they then can, relay that into another moment that they also haven't really prepared for. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Ideally, in a full team environment, you are working on some through ball situations, hopefully, but realistically, that's still pretty rare, even at the higher levels. So, it's a challenge, but as a goalkeeper coach, like you don't get off the hook by like, well, it's not really feasible for us because I only have like a 6x6 grid to work with someone. It's like you still got to find a way to get them prepared. You still have to find a way to get them to mentally prioritize and get on the right path with certain stuff. And if you're not doing that, then like you're just hitting volleys basically.
Let's just. But I know you got a lot of thoughts right here and everything.
I got a lot. I'm all over. I got so much to say.
I think one of the things number one thing I want to bring up about all this is that I feel like a lot of people are beating up on Matt Freese as opposed to looking at things from the macro standpoint. And I'm glad that you brought up the macro of this as opposed to the micro, because when we're looking at any sort of breakdowns when it comes to goalkeeper actions or anything like that, it comes down to so many different things. One is the development of the goalkeeper. What environments have they been throughout their careers that they've been put into? And I will be willing to bet that Matt Freese has probably never been challenged to do that. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just guessing. So do we need to, like you were saying right there, start trying to, I don't want to say like, try to think outside the box. I mean, I think, and by the way, Matt Freese has worked with some fantastic goalkeeper coaches over the years, and is still continues to work with some fantastic goalkeeper coaches over the years. But I don't know, man. I'm just really upset right now. I'm really upset right now. I don't know what the answer is for goalkeeping development moving forward and our 2030 depth pool. And when people say things like, well, Diego will be the number one. Diego wasn't developed in the United States. So that doesn't really help our American development.
No, that's a great point. Look, Matt Freese is not the answer, and it's nothing against him. I don't think he's a bad guy. I said it before the World Cup, but it's not Matt Turner. It's not these older goalkeepers that have kind of stagnated in their career and there's different reasons why. But like Matt Freese is topped out. He should be proud that he maxed out. There's no sort of higher level that he didn't get to that he could have gotten to. If he would have, by now he would have already gotten there. Like, this is not the issue. He's done what he could. He's been a good soldier in that sense, so we should be thankful. But we shouldn't be relying on, I don't want to throw other people on the bus, but imagine if you took like a high school, pitcher and put him in the World Series. There's just a gap there, and like
hold on. Let's to be fair to Matt Freese,
that's kind of a gap. Right, it's there. Kind of the gap. I mean, is it not? Like Matt Freese is, if you had taken Matt Freese like 10 years ago, would have been like a middle of the road MLS goalkeeper. He looks better now because our American crop has just plummeted. But you take that type of goalkeeper 10, 20 years ago, very unnotable, a professional goalkeeper, but the gap from like, middle of the road MLS to Premier League top or La Liga top, like that's the equivalent of like high school World Series to me. I mean, that is a huge canyon. And like why we used to have goalkeepers that were playing very close to that level at the very least. Maybe not quite a Champions League team every year, but like really knocking on that door. But now we don't even have anyone. Like England doesn't want our goalkeepers now. What Champions League team, what Europa League team is like, oh, we want to go get some American keepers. Like that's not a thing that really happens right now.
Gaga is technically in England right now.
Yeah, but how long is he going to be there? Like, we've gotten some rub.
Duran Ferry might be going over there.
We've gotten some rub.
Is there right now currently. So.
Iceland's the one, and coaching as well. Like we've got a couple of guys, but we've gotten rub off past prestige instead of like them actually doing well. Like Iceland and coaching are great examples. Like what game have they played in where people are like, oh, that's the goalkeeper? Like we don't know. Like we like them because they've gotten prestige rubs, but like there's not a game you could point to for either of those goalkeepers to be like, that's the game that they really showed that they're like.
So let me ask you a question. Would you prefer that? Because coaching right now, for those guys who are unfamiliar, has now been loaned out. He's going to be in the Danish Superliga to a team that just moved up from the second division there, and people can say that it's comparable to probably Major League Soccer in regards to the Danish league. I mean, that's apples and oranges. Like you could say the top teams in the Danish Super League would do well in MLS, and then the bottom teams are worse than USL Pro. I don't know, but would you prefer to have gone and been loaned out to, I don't know, LA Galaxy,
Well, look, every path is different. And the reality is like, you need to have,
by the way, that was not a shot at Marcin Kowski in any way whatsoever. No. I was just throwing out a random MLS.
Sure.
If you're hearing this, right? It was not a shot at you in any way.
JT's going to be messaging you soon. Look, you need a rocket ship on your back. And there are for sure times where goalkeepers need to sit and they need to sort out mental because, there's too much, whether it's off field or on field or unsure. Like there are for sure times of that. And there are for sure times where you need to get maximum minutes. And there's times where you need to be in a competitive environment. And that's different from goalkeeper to goalkeeper. And it is admittedly tough outside in, like who am I to be like, hey, each of these goalkeepers should go to these specific places. Like that's not feasible. However, like you need to go into a place that's going to, especially when you're at a younger age, that's going to give you momentum. And if you're getting into a place that's either too easy or too difficult to get on the field, and there's not that nice middle ground. The analogy I think is pretty relatable for most people is this idea of like a fifth year senior. Yeah, sometimes in college you could have a fifth year senior like get something out of it, but typically like you should kind of at a certain point because it's like you've kind of conquered the level. There's not that tension. Like yeah, you're probably going to start, or if you're not very competitive at that level. So like there's a lot of places he could go to, and I'm not saying Coach and Eystone are not going to get to. I'm not going to say that some of those younger players aren't going to get there, but we have had a very similar goalkeeper come through for the last 10 years. There are these tidy goalkeepers that are technically sound, but when the game gets on the line, like they're just not there to show. And we don't really know that with our younger goalkeepers. We haven't really seen that except for a few here or there, because a lot of times they can't get on the field, or they're not getting minutes, or they're not getting pressured, or if they are, it's at a really easy level. Like there's like Eystone was at Duke for a year, and
really
then
quickly before you get that, because I think you just brought up a really good point right there, and that is that the opportunities for young domestic goalkeepers in Major League Soccer is almost like there's a 0% chance that you're going to be getting. I mean, it's a very low chance that if you're somewhere between the ages of 18 to 24, that you'll be starting for a Major League Soccer club.
Well, I'd expand it out to an 18, 24-year-old goalkeeper playing with something on the line, because like playing MLS Next Pro is not something on the line. Like that's not like that's a college level, like as far as quality on the field level. There's not a challenge. And then obviously with like the way our system is set up here, there's not like you can go play for a shitty MLS side and like whatever, y'all could get last in the season. Who cares? Like you just move on. Like there's not that tension. Whereas going overseas, if you don't make it, they're sending you back home. Like that's tension there. Now again, you don't want to go to a club that's not going to play you, so you got to find that. Like Eupen with Gaga when he went there, that's a great example of that's good tension, because that team, one, got relegated, but also two, they committed to him. They said, hey, we're going to play you on the field. And he did all right. It wasn't great. I think he could have done a little better.
That was great. And I was really disappointed when he came back to Chelsea to sit in Premier League 2.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's like you had good tension there. That's good development. That's a good challenge. And then you go do nothing. Like that's not good for your development, to just go do nothing 99% of the time. There are some cases. So like our pathway here, we have this log jam that like these young goalkeepers want to go do something, but you've got these older goalkeepers in the way. And that's not to disparage them, but that's just how our system works out, where like we don't have enough teams here in the US, and we also aren't sending our best goalkeepers abroad because they're not good enough anymore. So now we've got this huge backup pile of going on that like these young goalkeepers can't go do something, but our older goalkeepers aren't good enough. Okay. So like I don't like we're caught in this bind here where there's just not a way to like really elevate other than continue to roll out the same goalkeepers that aren't really going to move the needle, like which has been the current approach. I don't have a problem with the best MLS goalkeeper starting, but if we're not creating pathways for younger goalkeepers to usurp them, then like what are we doing? Things are going to get stale real fast.
Well, let's talk about this right here. Bill, can you pull up your top 100 American goalkeepers depth chart?
You're putting a target on me.
Absolutely, I'm putting a target on you, but I'm curious here because I want to start looking forward to the next cycle right now. And by the way, here's another thing too, is that if Poch is not back, it's going to be probably somebody else is going to come in regards to the senior team on the goalkeeper staff, and I don't know, I don't think the federation, who the senior manager affects the federation and who's in the positions of the federation or whatever. But well, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so first off, number one. You have.
All right. Let me preface a little bit. First of all, obviously my opinion, like whatever. Yeah. I don't care what anyone else thinks. But secondly, like this is something I've been doing for a while, since July 2013. I've been doing a month by month eval of the goalkeepers, and this is back in March. For the record, it was back in March. Okay. I don't really think much has changed personally for me. I will say this: the top 10-ish are basically like interchangeable at this point, and that they'll have different strengths, different weaknesses, but as far as a quality play goes, they're all about the same level. So although I'm going to have certain
And I know that
ranked.
this list is based on what you if we had to play today, which
Right.
unfortunately we do not, because we do not play anymore.
Right.
And until the Nations League this late summer, early fall, which I know everybody is going to be tuning in, and they're going to be paying $1,700 a ticket for their Nations League games, right? Right, all you big time U.S. soccer fans now, you guys got to stay on board for the next 4 years. That's how it works. Who can't wait for Gold Cup next summer? Okay, so but I want to flash forward. I want to go 2030. So this list is going to be very different in 2030 than it is today. So who on your top 100 list do you feel are going to be there in 2030 in those top 5, 6, 7 depth chart spots going into the World Cup if we qualify, because we still have to qualify?
Right. I mean, Brady for sure, on the injury extreme stuff aside, Brady for sure is gonna be in there.
Even if he's an MLS lifer, you're cool with that?
I mean, I'm not cool with that, if that's what you're asking. No, he should definitely be leaving, going to go do something. You don't have a mullet like that and stay in MLS forever. Come on, like you gotta go, you gotta go push the level. So I'll scroll down here just to kind of refresh myself on some names here, but yeah, Brady for sure is in the mix. I think the guys like Horvath, Gaga will be in the mix for sure. Roman will be kind of a weird spot because he's, in my mind, like more or less plateaued, but also he's still young enough that he could go overseas, but that window's effectively closing now. But he's also like another one of those goalkeepers who's very technically sound, but I have some questions on like what he can do when the game's on the line. But, he's going to be in that mix. I think Stefan's going to be out of the fold. Turner will be out of the fold. Freeze will be out of the fold. I had Freeze at 7 before this World Cup. I feel pretty smart about that now. Maybe Klinsmann, but this guy's not eligible to play for the U.S. anymore, though I would love to have seen him out there.
No, and he speaking of that, that's actually funny story right there, is because CJ, he changed allegiances and he didn't get any playing time in the World Cup.
Well, it kind of worked out for
it kind of worked out for that team.
But he got to go to World Cup. That's pretty sick. Yeah. I mean, look, it's cool when you represent anyone. Cape Verde maybe for Americans isn't a sexy country to represent, but he got to represent people, and also there's a pathway for him going forward. Like I think he made a great decision for himself, and it didn't really seem like U.S. soccer was that interested in him. So I get it. But you start going down, like a lot of these goalkeepers, and I start bringing up like Gavin will probably be in the mix here, but you can see it's like these guys are going to start aging out. Maybe Schulte. Some people are higher on him than I am, but as you can kind of tell, like we're scrolling down, like there's no one that's like, wow, this guy right now, you watch him play, he's amazing. You've got guys that like, well, maybe there's potential. I've heard some news that they're tied with this club, or, they got called into a U17 camp 3 years ago. It's like, that's not
so like when we're looking at 30, like obviously Diego will be in the mix, obviously slow will be in the mix.
There's Diego. Julian's down here.
Julian's a potential. What about Camp, for instance, at Colorado Rapids? Too young. Thoughts?
Well, the only thing I would say there with those younger goalkeepers,
Rosenovic,
like again, I don't have a problem with those younger goalkeepers getting a pathway. I do think you should have to outplay someone. I really don't like the idea of like, well, you got to get them experience to get them to like the national team is not there to develop. From the senior national team, that's not their job. Can they help with that process? Yeah, obviously they can do that, but it's really more on like the club side that they're playing, that like, hey, this is where you're going to get the development from. So if they're getting developed and they're moving forward and they're playing well, then for sure let's put them in, like give them a role. It's not such a, you don't always just play the top. Like there's reasons why you shuffle around a little bit, but you should be like pressing that, ceiling a bit. If you're just a young goalkeeper that needs to get cap tied, like for me, I'm like really against that. Like there should be a reason why you're on the field because of your quality, not purely potential, so you should go outplay them. But yeah, like for sure, those young goalkeepers should be looking to be given a pathway going forward. Like Chris Brady's another good example that his first cap comes in the lead up to the World Cup against Senegal. And of course he doesn't have a great game, but that's largely because it's his first cap ever, and the World Cup's about to start. Like, you've kind of set him up to fail. You put Matt Turner into a random game against Turkey, you're kind of setting him up to fail. Like, it's nice to get the minutes, but like that's not a real pathway.
Would you have rather Freese had played that game against Turkey? Do you think he would have been better prepared?
I mean, it would have made more like Turner getting minutes here doesn't make sense. What if Turner had a great game? Well, what are you supposed to do with that? You don't play him. But now Turner is in a no-win scenario. So like that's not good for anyone. Like, nice that you got to play in a World Cup and all, but that doesn't mean anything now, especially that we lost the game.
Okay, well, what if you played Turner the first half and Brady the second half, because it was essentially an exhibition?
Well, like it doesn't help Turner to play there. It doesn't help the team for Turner to play. It only helps Freese. And if Freese had gotten exposed then in that game, that probably would have been a better situation, because either A, we could have maybe, patched up some areas that we need to, or B, hey, Freese, it was so bad, like we need to move. Like, at least you kind of get some information there. So I would take that. So yeah, as someone who had Freese at 7 going into this World Cup, I would have for sure kept Freese going, because that doesn't make sense to put someone else in. But like, we got to start zooming out in this macro stuff and see, like, hey, where are things going? Are these goalkeepers getting traction? It's been 20 years now that our young goalkeepers can't like develop, and they stagnate, whether in college or right after college. Like, they can't go do something, and there's a big systemic issue that touches a whole bunch of things, but ultimately it comes down to the federation. Like, it's not Matt Freese's fault that Matt Freese is as good as he can be. That's not a problem. That's not Matt Freese's mistake. It's
so
the
federation's. Let me ask you a couple questions right here first, because you brought out a couple points in regards to playing time and playing on some things that are, I don't want to say worthwhile, because everything is worthwhile. You're developing when you're playing games, and you're getting experience and everything like that. But like, you brought up just the fact that, like, MLS Next, or college, or whatever, it's not the same as a young goalkeeper coming through a European system. And there's 180 teams that have things that are really riding on those teams for them to go and loan out to. If you look at all the top clubs out there, if you look at all those goalkeepers, they all loaned at smaller division clubs in their countries or nearby countries that had real stakes. And that's pro rel. That is, taking a job from a 32-year-old man who was supporting his family, things like that. And our goalkeepers, it's either sit on the bench third on an MLS team or play MLS Next with 14-year-olds. And that's why is a 26-year-old MLS goalkeeper playing on the weekends with my nephew for LAFC? Like, it just does. It's not. No. It's. I'm trying to be funny here, but it's kind of not funny.
These are great. These are great questions, because the system itself does not like forge good goalkeeping, and we know that now. But it was kind of shown in the time of, like, hey, this very kind of like protected insular environment where you can go lose some games and whatever. Like, that's not really how you develop. Like, honestly, the college system, and has its whole host of issues, but the college system is more cutthroat for who's starting as a goalkeeper than it is for MLS Next Pro, than it even for, like, a League One championship side where, like, there's some challenges there to get in, but like, they'll kind of shuffle around a bit. Like, those college head coaches are really reluctant to just go throw a goalkeeper in. You'll see it all the time here and there, but when you've got an MLS season that the majority of the teams make playoffs, or if you get last, it doesn't matter. Like, or with League One championship, like, they'll try some stuff here and there to kind of like, keep everyone happy. But it's, it's actually more difficult, in my opinion, to get into a college game, because those coaches are really reluctant to go put someone on the field. We need to be having, like, at any year, the next 20 years, like 5 to 10 American, you don't need a ton, 5 to 10 American keepers going to go push the level. Like, your top 0.1% need to go jump, and they need to go push the level, and some of them will succeed, some of them won't. But that's how you keep things churning forward, where you're pushing the ceiling, as opposed to, hey, like, let's just stay in a comfortable environment. What if you stayed in college for 12 years? You're not going to grow, develop. You stay in MLS for 12 years. you're only going to develop so much. Like, it's not the best league in the world. By year 3, 4, you've kind of figured out the level. So like, what are you going to do? You're going to stagnate like every other goalkeeper did that stayed here for 12 years. Like, it's not a good system. You need the federation. You need the head of positions to kind of look to advocate for stuff, not just to like keep stuff maintained as is.
I think we also have a couple of real difficult situations in regards to, from a competition level and the international stage for our young goalkeepers. Yes, obviously in the youth teams, there's opportunities, but with the senior team, because of the region that we're in, like, let's be honest, if this team, the way that it was playing in the World Cup, was playing in the Gold Cup this year instead of the World Cup, we would probably say this is the best U.S. men's national team we've ever seen. I mean, they just rolled through the entire tournament and won the final against Mexico. And, Matt Freese got the Golden Glove, yada, yada. Because that's a comfortable level. If you take it to youth soccer, right? How many teams like just look awesome in their regional tournaments and their regional things, and then they get to nationals, and it's like, oh, I guess there are teams from Southern California that our Kentucky-based club has never faced. I guess this is a different level. And I feel like that's kind of what we got caught into last night. I don't know if Matt Freese has ever played against a side like that at the international level ever.
That's a good question.
I mean, outside, I'm talking about in a competitive environment. I know he played the Germany and the Belgium and everything like that, but those were friendlies. That's a completely different environment.
I'll say this:
he didn't play in Copa America.
I think you want to. Yeah, that's a good point. You want to have those competitive moments to, but I'm trying to think how to phrase this. You want to be in those competitive environments so that you can form out your blueprint, you can form out your level, you can you can figure out all these things like that. That's a real iron sharpens iron, sort of like forged by fire sort of thing. Like that's why that's there. You can't really figure out what you want to do if the environment's cushy. And I would say, again, these first 3 goals, which we can go through if you want, but like, he's clearly not quite sure what to do. I think the 3rd goal was most obvious. People are saying he kicked the ground. It's like, okay, he didn't like stub his toe. He's not 12. Like, that's not what happened. He didn't know what to do. Like, he got caught between 2 decisions and hesitated. Like, that's not, but at, whether it's with the Revs or with NYC or Chicago, like, you can get away with those moments. And we saw it with Turner when he went overseas. He got extremely exposed because he got away with them at the Revs. And when you go play at a higher level, which is whether that's a Premier League or the men's national team during the World Cup, that's a higher level. You're not going to be able to do that sort of stuff and get away with it. Really, the only reason he got out of it for the first 4 games because he didn't have anything to do.
So. I mean, you brought up a good point, and like, I would love to go through the goals, from a goalkeeping standpoint, because I feel like a lot of pundits have been on there breaking it down who are not goalkeeping people. But sure. I do want to say before we do that, though, is that, in my opinion personally, the number one thing, and this is something that Ian Foyer said to me years ago, and he said, he's like the position doesn't change. He's like, the speed of play and the decision making changes. So the speed of your decision making and the speed of the game changes, which affects the performance of the goalkeeper and how the goalkeeper's actions are performed. The things that you can get away with at U10, you can't get away with at, MLS, right. So et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh, that's a really good point. Now, obviously the demands of a U10 game versus the demands of a senior team game are going to be different, and that's a whole other conversation. But what I saw in that game last night, from my perspective, again, I've never played at Matt Freese's level, is that the decision-making wasn't quick enough for the speed of the match and the competition level that he was performing at.
I don't even know if he made decisions on some of them, but I think you're right. But yeah, I mean, I'll say this, like, yeah, the speed of play definitely cranks up at each level. However, at certain levels, you're going to see different actions that you do not see at certain others. So I obviously, Ian, legend, I don't want to completely dismiss him, but like, I think that's maybe boiling down a little too much is what he's saying. Like, you're going to, and I think the Belgian game is a great example. He's seeing actions that he doesn't see in other games for a few different reasons. So it
He's
does
a
speed
player
up.
who played for Club Bruges, by the way, so he knows a lot about Belgium.
Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah, for sure. Again, legend. But here, let me pull up the first goal because I think this is a good example. And video here, first goal. Okay, it's just gonna play. So this play obviously is a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead and pause it here. I think everyone's expecting a shot, even from a goalkeeping standpoint. You know, you've got this weird, difficult situation where you have 12, 15 people in the box. Like it's a little overwhelming, overloading, and you're going to be focusing on typically your main thing of like shot stopping. This is something that league to league will depend on, hey, are they going to try to blast a shot here, or knowing, hey, I don't really have a great chance on goal. If I can slot this ball, which is what happens on this play, then I can, maybe we can get something out of it. From a goalkeeping standpoint, he really has three options to go to ground here, like three different like windows to go to ground. And this is like the big frustration on my end, that he is really overwhelmed with this moment where he's like, oh, I didn't know that the slotted ball was on. Maybe he thought a defender was going to pick that up, but like he should kind of know where his defenders are. That you should know that they're 8-9 yards from goal line. Like he should kind of like, that's a ball he can go get if he wanted to. He could have, if he was thinking ahead of the play, stepped up and just tackled this guy. So instead of going for like the slot, he could just kind of spread save on this essentially, or go on the side. Like,
yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. I was like, affecting the area.
Yeah, I think the biggest frustration for my part is this fucking shit here, where he does this all the time, where he looks at the ball as it goes in. I cannot imagine Tony Meola being in a situation where he's like, I'm going to think about diving. Like, why is that a thought? Why is that a question? Like, are you going to save that shot? Probably not. But that's all.
At least push off and expand. Yeah.
I mean, give us something. Yeah. Like this is not that dissimilar. Now the shot's location's different for sure, but the situation is not that different from that Iranian goalkeeper, I'm blanking on his name, where he just lays out before the shot is hit. He's already diving.
And he makes that amazing save.
Like, why is our goalkeeper considering diving? Like, why is that even a thought? Go to ground. You could have done it here. You could have done it here, and you could have done it there. Like, there's 3 times to go. Now, you may still get scored on. That's fine. But Tyler Adams and the rest of the national team wants to say something of like, well, I hope we really inspired kids to go play soccer. This is not inspiring. This is not like, I don't see this and think, yeah, like that's something I want to show young goalkeepers. Like that, he gives up on the play 3 times over and hopes someone else saves this for him. Like this is not something.
Bill, most youth goalkeepers in the United States do that exact same thing on a slotted ball. So
well, I think that is, I think you're right, but I think that's all very related. That like this is something that youth goalkeepers are doing, and there's something, and it's happening at the top level for our national team as well. Like why is that a thread? Like you're absolutely right. This happens at every level because like they can get away with it. It's not a big deal. Like for some reason, his teammates and his coaches have said, hey, it's okay if you don't dive on certain plays. What the fuck is that? Like I don't like. Yeah. Does he only have so many dives that he can use? And again, he probably gets scored on here. I think that's a likely scenario. But if you're just going to sit around and kind of hope someone else saves you on this earth, like why are you in goal? Let's go put the traffic cone in goal. That's the equivalent here. So like go make a play, go be inspirational, go add something to your team. But this sort of like, hey, what am I supposed to do here? I'm going to consider it. It's too late. The play's over.
That's when I'm. But that's what I mean. The speed of thought.
Yeah, speed of play for sure.
Decision making. You get what I'm saying? It's like that. Yeah. That's my thought. It's like if you've made that decision earlier, but if your decision making is a little bit slower, and guess what? In MLS, he probably does have the time to make his decision on what to do there.
I mean, I have to go look at it goal by goal for him, but he's probably seeing it at a slower rate, which actually isn't quite the same scenario. A slower ball is an easier one to go collect, and that's not something you're going to have to think about. The best example I can think of for our goalkeeping friends is when Kepa went from La Liga to the Premiership. There's different actions on the field, and like his play style took forever to catch up because he was playing a certain way, and playing a very tactical slotted ball, multiple scenarios is totally different from just pure power and pace. Like that's a totally different beast that you have to go through. So yeah, I think you're right. But even with the added pace, like things are going to become into different actions. So second goal is kind of a similar scenario of this is a very in the sense that it's a specific action that if it goes a little different way, it gets a lot easier, a lot more favorable. But because it's this specific thing, you have to play this a certain way. So this is the second goal here. This is a replay of the goal. He's going to take this down. Now, this is a good example of like the depth really matters here. He's right at the edge of the box, but he's going to inline. Now, can he put this on frame? Yeah, for sure. And there's definitely times where this has been mishit, where it kind of loops in and kind of bends over a goalkeeper. But just from like a percentage standpoint, there's really only so many things he needs to consider here. It's not a slotted ball scenario. Not to mention that he has a defender on the top of the 6, but realistically, like that's just not. That's not the big danger
too much
here.
depth there. There's too much depth there for
the space. The space is totally different. There's also only one real target that Matt Freese has to really deal with. There's obviously others in the area, but there's one main target, and that's that guy, center of the field. I don't know his name. Center of the field, 2 yards off the top. Like he needs to only be thinking about that. If a shot does come on target, because he's got enough time, and the angle's so tight, we're not really worried about that. But he's like walking down. Like he's moving forward towards the ball here. Like why are you getting even? Like what is the play here? Like why are you there? Now again, like I don't really know if he goes and saves this. Like this would be a tricky play because it's right on the cusp of like what you're gonna do. But he can certainly give himself a chance if either A, he backs up because he doesn't need to be guarding that near post like that. If he backs up a couple of yards and plays the cross, he might get a punch on it, which Pickford did a wonderful job and kind of showcased how we do that.
Yeah.
Or this ball gets looped up, maybe because he's moved over enough and he reads the body shape, he might get a paw on it because that's not driven with a ton of pace. Probably not. He probably still gets scored on this. I don't know. But if we're at a point where we're ending up in the goal on plays, like it's a good chance of like on your feet, no less. It's a good chance that you were just kind of hoping someone else would solve this for you. Like he's wildly out to sea on this sort of stuff. He doesn't know how to play these situations. Yeah, World Cup, blah, 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 emotions, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is not a unique thing for him. This is a challenge that he has faced over and over and over, and he's gotten away with it because MLS isn't that cutthroat of a level. And, like there's things that protect and insulate him in that sense from having to actually deal with the fallout of not being able to do this shit. But when it actually matters, obviously it stings a bit. So
well let's break this down a little bit here in regards to like I love the fact that you were bringing up the aspect of that once he recognizes that there's no danger on near post, he could drop back and give himself a little bit more depth because he can always approach forward because he's moving forward is easier than moving backwards. So as a human being, and the laws of physics tell you that based on the structure of a human being and science and all that. So like you can always step forward and like you said, he's got two options. He's got drop step and release. And therefore, because of that, he's doesn't have that dangerous area available to it because that space is covered by a human being now in a position where they can make an action to save the ball. Or my personal favorite on that is that he can do the crossover and go top hand across to box that ball away.
Yeah.
I think if he's in a better starting position, this is why I always bring up starting positions to young goalkeepers all the time, that your starting position is the most important position, more so than your position on the final action. Your starting position is the most important because it determines and dictates your final action.
Well, your starting position is great because it obviously maximizes what you can do, but it also is like the intro to a book. Like you get to set what you want to do. Now, like his starting position is basically, he's still playing the first goal. It feels like he's going to shut out the slotted ball, which I think that's Richards there inside the 6. Like that's not really the situation. And because your defender's in there, like you're fine. So he's writing a different intro for like a totally different book, to keep that analogy going. Like that's not the moment. Like that's not what needs to be done here. So he's not only is he not maximizing, but he's not even just reading the situation, which is a bit of a bummer because he just called out on this build here. He points out, he's like, hey, watch out for so-and-so. Like he knows he's there, but he just doesn't consider that the ball can get lobbed in. Like if this ball gets put on the ground, like Freese isn't even going to get to it. Like it's not, he's got Richards right there. Like play. It's team defending here. It's not just you. So now, like, can he go get this punch? Like, that's a tough play. You know, you
Yeah.
might just give that to your defender. Like, and again, he might still get scored on both of these goals. Very, very
Yeah.
likely. But this is not inspirational. It's not good to see. It's not a high level of goalkeeping. You need a goalkeeper at this level to go make a play. You can't just have someone be like, well, you know, it's not really on him on every single play. Like, you've got to go make a play on some point,
Yeah.
because when you inevitably make a mistake, which we're going to go ahead and jump to here, like, you're you're well in the negative here. Like, you've got to bounce. You're going to make mistakes. We know that. Like, you've got to go make plays here. This third goal, I don't think anyone had a problem with him coming out of the box. I don't think anyone had a problem with him chesting it. He just loses his mind here. I think he's trying to play Dest or maybe Ream on the slot over. Like, I don't. He clearly gets caught in between two different things. Like, I don't know what he's thinking. Obviously, the answer is just either send that into row 49 or find a quick square ball quickly. But, like, it's not goof around with this. I would imagine in MLS, unless you're playing Messi, the forward here probably just lets you have, like, just runs off. I don't like, this is not this this is a cutthroat moment here, and he acts like he has all day on this. And even
Well,
on
he
this
did.
play, I
To
don't I
Freese's credit, he did shield the ball. He did when he
well,
brought it down on the chest. He did
great.
shield the ball, and I think you're right. I think a lot of forwards would have just given up on the play, and he was. I think he lost track of the fact that there was a player there because he thought he had shielded the ball and that there was no danger anymore. Look, so
I mean,
he
he might
shields
he
it
might
right
be
there,
going.
right? So
Well, I
he
mean,
doesn't realize the dude's behind him.
he might think that, like, he's going to draw a foul or something. Like, I don't really think he's shielding the ball as much as just, like, the guy ended up behind him is more
Okay.
more what happened here.
Okay.
But, like, you know, like, make a play. Like, no one, like, he fucking booted the ball all the time in the World Cup outside of this play. Like, no one had one complaint about that. Like, it's fine, dude. Like, we know this situation. Not to mention this one is kind of a trick. Like, who are you going to play realistically? Like, this is kind of a tough situation. Could he find a pass? Yeah, maybe. But, like, certainly don't go gamble on something that you're not sure about at this moment, where it's at this point it was 2-1. Like, we're still kind of in the game here. You know, like, we have a chance, but to go through the reason why the game fell apart is because of this specific moment. We had 35, 40 minutes after this that, like, it didn't matter because our team gave up because they thought, hey, our goalkeeper can't, he can't play. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else felt the air go out the stadium, but everyone thought, oh, that guy shouldn't be on the field. Like that. Like, that's what happened here. Sure, he's a nice guy. I'm sure he tried really hard, but it's not his fault. He shouldn't be out there. This shouldn't be the level of goalkeeping. You know, like, it's I don't. Even, like, he kind of weirdly dives to, like, go save it, but then he realizes he can't use his hand. I mean, he's just,
I
like,
mean, it's
out
a
to sea
comedy of
on
errors.
this.
I mean, it's one of those things that you see in like the Sports Center.
You can't play at a certain level. No, like, no one wants to play anymore. Like, if you were to go play basketball and someone passes you the ball and, like, you don't know how to dribble and you, like, travel 5 steps, everyone's like, oh, this is my teammate now. Like, that's kind of what happened here. Is
No,
like,
no, no,
oh,
no. You're right,
this
and I think
goalkeeper can't just boot the ball away and just is going to pass it to the other team. Like that. Like, you look at the penalty Mexico gave up against England. At least that's a goalkeeping action. Like,
yes, but you know, this Matt Freese play, by the way, I think boils down a huge problem in the United States in goalkeeping development. Maybe, and that is the literalization of goalkeeping actions. And my coach says in this scenario, you always possess the ball. This is how we play. I can't tell you how many times I've had a young goalkeeper argue with me about an unsuccessful action and said, well, this is how my coach wants me to play, as opposed to contextualizing what is the situation in the moment. I don't think that's what Matt Freese was doing, because I don't think Matt Freese is saying, well, Poach says I'm only supposed to blah, blah, blah type of a thing. I think subconsciously it's been ingrained in him. This is how to play the position, how to play the position.
He's definitely thinking about two totally different actions. And I think you're onto something, that he's thinking, oh, we could possess here, which is kind of a weird thought to have down 2-1 in the 57th minute or whatever it was. Like, I don't know if that's really the time to be like, oh, maybe, like, you know, just go with your instinct here. Like, if you don't have good instinctual actions and, like, desires and motives in goalkeeping, like, you're not going to find much success. I think this is kind of that moment where I'm sure he's caught a bazillion volleys and he's done a bazillion shots outside the 18. But like knowing when to play out of the back and when to just sail it forward, like it seems to still be a difficult thing for him to kind of wrap his head around. And he's not the only one, like the rest of our goalkeepers, very like Brady's mistake against Senegal in the warm-up game, not too dissimilar in the sense he's coming off his line trying to make a decision. Matt Turner had an awful slip up at the end of MLS before he came to the national team just now. Like this is something that like is beyond Matt Freese, and that's why like I don't really give. The only thing I would say to Matt Freese that's really disappointing is that he's reluctant to put his body on the ground. This game, other games, like he's making this sort of like question his head, like should I die? Like that's the thing that drives me up a wall. But outside of that, like he's playing within himself. I don't really have a problem with it. He also made a fantastic save in the first minute. You give him credit for that. But the problem is with the Federation that all their efforts have amounted to this, and you cannot pass the buck. Like that is, you want to go blame state associations, you want to go blame ODP, you want to go blame YouTube, Instagram goalkeeping coaches. Like none of that stuff fucking matters. If your goalkeepers that you're putting out there aren't going to be at quality, like that is for sure on you. You cannot pass that buck. Like that is on you, that you've got to go get these kids on the right track. I mean, these are youth national team kids coming out. Like these are your kids, that you've developed. And if they're not your kids, that they're coming out of youth national teams, that's even a bigger problem. Like these are your kids that are coming out of this environment.
Well, there's three things I want to bring up before we wrap up. And thanks, Bill. I know we've gone longer than you wanted to, but we had the technical issues. One is the question of dual nationals. In the past, on the outfield player situation, when we haven't had the depth, we've gone, hey, who in Germany has been to Kansas City before?
Yeah.
Anybody here? And are we at that point now on the goalkeeping end where we're going to start going, what goalkeeper Ajax is, has American lineage and yada yada yada? Because we've never had to do that before. We've never recruited dual nationals in the goalkeeping end.
I'll be honest. I don't care. I mean, look, if you're going to go play and you're someone that's going to help the team, people want to play with that. Like, I don't like, it doesn't matter where you're from. Someone says, hey, that's my teammate, and they make the team better. Awesome. Like I don't like the end of story, So, I think it'd be silly not to consider that sort of stuff. Obviously, you don't want to, it's like the transfer portal for college coaches. You don't want to be completely reliant on something that could be hit or miss. Like you want to have your, your home base, whatever that means for you. But, yeah, so I don't.
And I think you brought up a good point right there, because, by the way, I just want to make sure so people don't think I was trying to be xenophobic, is that I love dual nationals, and I don't mind anybody who wants to play for the U.S. men's national team. I'm totally down for. Like,
it's a fair question. Yes.
But what fair. I'm saying is that we've never had to actively, like, I don't. Sure. There's a lot of people that had issues in 2014 with the fact that a third of the roster for the men's national team in that World Cup were players that were not developed here. I did not care about that. I felt like that was more of a sign of our lack of depth on the men's from a development standpoint in the United States, that we had to find players that had the quality. And again, like if anybody wants to play, and I think it's a U.S. Soccer's job to find players that have American lineage that want to represent the United States. I don't think that's the thing. It's just never been a thing. Like, I mean, like, I think there's been a certain level of just arrogance on the goalkeeping side in the United States that we've never had to really push to find the next Brad Friedel and the next Tim Howard. We just assumed it would be there.
Well, 2011, David Yeldell. Anyone remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a blast from the past there. Not that he's relevant at all. I think you're right. Look, you want to get your home base right. You want to get your pipeline right for sure, because that's going to be the 95, 98% of it, whatever it is. But yeah, like you want to, like it's a new era. And also, let's be real. We've had plenty of times in the men's national team history that someone born in a different country did something great for the men's national team. Or if people remember this 1950 World Cup, the guy who scores a goal against England was not even a U.S. citizen, because FIFA rules were weird at the time.
He was Haitian, right?
Usation, very good. Joe
Yeah.
Gatchins, I think was his name.
Yeah.
But like no one cared then, like, and they still
I
don't
saw the
care
Man
now.
for TV
So
movie. I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yes.
there you go. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, like like whatever. So yeah, you want to maximize things out, which means get the bulk of it right. But also, yeah, if you can find a 1% increase, yeah, for sure, do it.
Okay, and then the second thing I want to bring up is I think this is something, and I wish we had brought this up when we had the director of GK for U.S. Federation, which is a great episode, guys. If you find it, just to go back and check it out. Is that brought up? Do we need to expand our identification centers on the goalkeeping and just have sole goalkeeping identification centers? Because right now the problem is that in our U.S. national team camps and ID camps, they bring in like 4 goalkeepers, 6 goalkeepers. This is a really big country.
Yeah,
but then they do super camp and they got 400 field players.
Yeah,
but they bring in 6 goalkeepers.
It sounds like they're looking to expand that. Look, MLS Next itself, which is not the end all be all, but just on the men's side, MLS Next has 100 clubs or so. I think actually it might be more than that. Like they've got a lot. They've got a lot of clubs in that little small pool. Like it's tough to go through each and every one on that. And so even when you identify someone just in that small thing, like you've identified them. What are you going to do? Like send them a piece of paper with some information that they then go train. Like they still have to go do the work. Like the system really matters. The environment really matters. Whether or not you're getting identified or not, Matt Turner didn't get identified till after college where he was undrafted. Like you can still continue to move forward. So like our goalkeepers that are or aren't rostered for U17, U20, for me, I don't care. Like that's not something like you can still go be a good goalkeeper after that. You can still be a bad goalkeeper if you're on your U20 starter. It doesn't matter. So identifying, I'm not saying is a waste of time because it does open up the possibility for a kid to think, oh, maybe I could be that. And that raises their level for sure. But more importantly than that, if the system doesn't get right with our moving kids forward, which is kind of what we're stuck into, that like the system's going to gobble up and dictate much more than U.S. soccer identifying 50, 60, 100 kids per age level. Like there's around, I don't know, 150,000 goalkeepers per age level. You identified 100 of those. Like I don't, there's still a ton more, So like the system has to do it right. Identifying is good. That for sure there's some positives there, but that's like 5% of the workload that needs to be done. Like the system's going to dictate a lot more than that. So it sounds like the identifying is going to pick up and we're going to see more, but we still are faced with like the elephant in the room that it's very difficult for goalkeepers to move forward in life.
So last thing I want to say with you, and then I would love to finish with the save that Matt Freese had at the very beginning of the game, because that could have I thought that put me in a state of like, oh wow, we might be in a Tim Howard type situation here. He's looking pretty solid right now. And I want to give some praise to that because I thought it was a great save. What do you want to see in 2030 from a men's national team goalkeeper in that World Cup? What type of a goalkeeper do you want to see? What level do you want to see them be playing club? What attributes are you looking for to use as kind of the template for goalkeeper prospects for the next 4 years? And then if you were literally had the job, like Bill, we've seen your lists. The next 4 years, your job is to find a goalkeeper that fits this criteria.
Yeah, because you've written something online. We now trust you. Like, oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
The level, ideally in 4 years, you're pushing for like Europa League minimum, I would say. Like the last Champions League goalkeeper, I'm pretty sure is Josh Cohen, if that says anything. Like I don't like we're so far removed from having our goalkeepers play at a high level that like it just seems like a far off memory. But even Josh Cohen never got a cap with the national team. Like I don't like so they need to be playing at a level that's like challenging, that's like pushing for minutes. But even honestly, Brad Friedel, like he was just the man at whatever club he went to. Like they had to rely on him. It's not like he was getting a lot of postseason action from the Premiership. Like he was on middle to lower end teams. Like you need to be a playing at a good level that is also like they need to depend on you and
Yeah.
not just hide around. So level wise, like I mean, there's a bazillion clubs that fit that, but
Oh, so
yeah,
you'd rather see our goalkeeper playing at the like bottom tier of the Premiership, and they're dependent on them to keep them from getting
for
relegated to the
sure,
Championship every week.
because their mistakes matter, and
Yeah,
that will translate to the national team.
great point.
If you go win a trophy at MLS, like awesome, that's an achievement for sure. I'm not saying it's not, but like I don't really know how much that translates over to the men's national team because we saw it once we played a team that was above our level. It's a different game. Matt Freese had to do totally different actions against Belgium than against Bosnian, or Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's a totally different setup here. Like if we want to go compete with the big boys, like you got to go play at that level. So, I mean, there's a lot of I would say lower premiership, but also like if you're a top team in Turkey or Denmark, and you're trying to make a run that like I think that's valuable. Like there's a lot of clubs that could fit. But your mistakes have to matter, and they really don't matter that much in MLS. Someone will tweet about it, and that's about it. It's not a big deal. You go on with your life. It's not a big deal. But I'll show the save, and then we can kind of wrap up on this because again, it's the best thing I've ever seen him do, and that's not me being like mean or rude. It just I've never seen him do something better than this. I just cropped this right now. It'll show on the replay here. But to kind of show it here big, and look, this is big. I thought, man, he's going to have a good game today. I legitimately thought that's a good save. I've never seen him do that before. He's ready for today. The thing I love about this save is that he moves his feet and he goes to ground. He lays out because if he doesn't, we're going to have trouble. One of the Hugo Lloris is clapping about that, which is awesome. Which he should be. It's a good save. But like we can kind of watch his feet. He gets set here. Hold on a second. Yeah, strike's coming. You shouldn't be scored on from like 25 out to begin with, but like still a very good save.
That was a great hit though.
It's a good hit, and it's also kind of weirdly moving as well. This ball's been kind of tricky. So like he gets set, he's starting to move his left foot, he moves his right foot, he plants, and he goes with a nice top hand save. You know what this kind of reminded me of, although different shot, but was that Stephen Fry save against Altidore in like whatever MLS Cup that was with the like
Toronto New England.
Yeah, it was a weird amount of time that he could move his feet, but you couldn't just like waltz over there. You still have to put your body on the ground. Like you can see how he's kind of weirdly contorted his body because the timing is kind of weird. I love this that he finds a way to push his body to the limit. And imagine if this goes in and he doesn't dive. Everyone's gonna think, why didn't you dive like that? Like put yourself on the ground, go try something. It's a great save. Kind of weirdly flops out of it. Like I don't like, but like if you're making strikers do this, where they're putting their hands on their head, like that's great. What we don't want is we don't want our goalkeepers doing that. Like I don't. This is like this position needs to be reserved for the strikers, not us. Like we should not be doing this at any point. Like
no.
It's awesome when we sell out and we go push the envelope, and it's something to be proud of. But when we look for like soft, cushiony, easy stuff that's gonna like pat you on the back, Matt Freese probably has no chance of going to Europe now. It's very little, I would assume. Like, who wants to pick him up now? He's probably going to finish in MLS, which like fine, that's respectable. But like, what if he had gone overseas and done something? That'd be awesome. Yeah. That'd be great, So we got to push the level. The federation needs to do more. Our goalkeepers need to be put in a position to do more. We can't look to just continue to pat ourselves on the back and say, "Oh yeah, this is good enough for us."
I mean, I think that's a great way to end it. I mean, obviously, look, we didn't get to anything else other than the men's national team, and I apologize for that. Anybody out there who was waiting for us to give our opinions on some of the other goalkeeper performances of the past week, but I think this kind of threw our whole rundown into disarray.
This is cathartic. I got it out. So thank you. That's good.
Yeah. Guys, if you want to reach out to us, it's contact insidethe18media.com or at Goalkeeper Podcast on all social media platforms. Make sure you're checking out Bill on Everybody's Soccer. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful site. You can find him at Let's All Soccer as well too on the X as they like to call it. That's all the time on Inside the 18. Bill, we're not going to be able to talk about the men's team.
Good.
for a minute here. So we got
That's fine.
NWSL coming back into the picture. MLS is coming back, and the big dogs of World Cup are going to be wrapping up. So
Hey, you know what, Wayne? 2027 Women's World Cup. But
Yeah.
like, hopefully, we can reverse the trend of like bad goalkeeping. Like that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's all the time on Inside the 18, and we're out. Later, guys.